Consumers of Reddit, what is something a business will do that will instantly turn you away from doing business with them? Sending advertisements in the mail that is meant to look like either a personal letter/card or as a late bill. One is made to trick me into thinking someone wrote me a letter or sent me a card, and since nobody ever does either, it is like a slap in the face to see it's an ad for a local car dealership or Dish Network. And getting a letter that is purposely made to look like a late bill, pink letter/final notice stamped on it, etc., makes me annoyed to have that moment of, did I forget to pay something last month? Screw refinancing companies and other idiots that do this. This drives me nuts. Like, what do they expect? Wow. Haha, you got me. What a great mildly terrifying experience I now have associated with this company. I think I'll give them a call. You know how some banks let you take a picture of a check to deposit it into your account? Well, one of those high-interest loan companies sent me $2,500 in the form of a piece of paper written as a check with a notice attached saying deposit of this check into your account is taken as acceptance of this loan, and you hereby accept all the terms associated with the repayment of the amount written on the check in full for the month-by-month pay period described. Like depositing the check locks you into a loan. I wonder how many people they get that way. Charities who use that psychological trick of sending a nickel in their mailers to you. My nickel now. Not guilt-tripping me to give because you gave to me. Employees constantly trying to upsell me. Ones, I understand, but if I say no, that doesn't mean try to sell me harder. I'm looking at you, Valvoline oil change. I hated having to do this in New York City, where speed was everything. Yeah, I'll ask you if you want to add another item onto your order, but if it's busy and there are 20 people in line, I'm not going to push anything. Especially not to someone who comes there every day. Well, the big cheeses came in one day and decided to show us how it's done and didn't listen to us when we told them we know our customers and who to upsell to. He chose one of regulars who only ever got a tall coffee and nothing else. Man, did he get chewed out for being pushy. Part of upselling is knowing when to do it and when not to. This is so true. Even working fast food, it's important to have some intuition about when to suggestive sell. Well, the big cheeses came in one day and decided to show us how it's done and didn't listen to us when we told them we know our customers and who to upsell to. This is what I hated most about head office. They just did not fucking get that there was this thing called reading body language. You'd be crazy not get new wipers with monsoon season coming. Jiffy Lube and the others are the same. But I've learned how to shut them down the first time and they immediately stop. Jiffy Lube fucked up my mom's car one time, we almost never went there anyways. I can't remember what it was exactly, but something that no regular person would be able to do themselves, especially in a short period of time. My dad, a decent mechanic, was hesitant about them anyways and drove it down the street after we picked it up and stopped to check everything. He could tell right away that something was severely messed up and drove it right back to them, where they obviously denied it. Even the manager tried arguing with him. He barked so far up the tree there that the owner and regional guy came down and sat there with him while the mechanic and manager pulled it back apart. Lo and behold, major purposeful fuck up. Never again. Jiffy Lube fucked up my mom's car one time, we almost never went there anyways. I can't remember what it was exactly, but something that no regular person would be able to do themselves, especially in a short period of time. My dad, a decent mechanic, was hesitant about them anyways and drove it down the street after we picked it up and stopped to check everything. He could tell right away that something was severely messed up and drove it right back to them, where they obviously denied it. Even the manager tried arguing with him. He barked so far up the tree there that the owner and regional guy came down and sat there with him while the mechanic and manager pulled it back apart. Lo and behold, major purposeful fuck up. Never again. After some reporters in California did a hidden camera expose on Jiffy Lube, the company said they'd improve training for their employees. Rather than train people on how to do an oil change correctly, they explained how to spot reporters. Yeah, I had a similar experience at an Easy Lube. Seems like lowlifes work there who are pissed at life and jack your stuff up sometimes to make themselves feel better. Funny thing, Dateline did an undercover story about how they fake repairs to increase your bill. Grease monkey fucked my car up. They left a rag under the hood which caught on fire and fucked shit up. Of course they denied it. Like I would put a rag under my own fucking hood. Before that they didn't put the oil filter on all the way and all the oil leaked out of my car. I think a bunch of kids that couldn't make it as mechanics work at places like that. One of my GF's coworkers went there for a simple oil change. The mechanic forgot to put the oil plug back in before putting the new oil in. Apparently somehow, they didn't notice the massive puddle of oil on the ground and gave the car back to the customer, and the engine promptly ate itself 50 miles later. They ended up giving her the amount for an entirely new car, since when the engine ate itself, the transmission also ceased, and all in all the car was totaled. That cemented me into either doing my maintenance myself or taking it to the one mechanic nearby that I actually trust. A recent one I went to, they tried to give me bottom shelf regular oil when I paid for synthetic blend, and I called them out on it. They even tried to defend it, saying that conventional is what we say to refer to synthetic blend. The fuck it is. I made them drain it out and do it again. Having worked in a place that did that very thing, as the customer service jockey, it sucks ass, dude. You constantly get treated like powdered coat because of something you have no real control over. Instead of getting 10 calls, maybe one of which is less than friendly, you get 4 callers, all of whom are frothing at the mouth from the runaround, and ready to take it out on the first person they interact with. It's just a bad time for everyone, all around. Geico has forever lost my business after the stunt they pulled. I ran a quote through them as I do with everyone else. Once you have your quote, everyone else usually stops at that point. Not Geico. They started calling me once every couple of hours wanting to talk about my quote. Leaving constant voicemails, so on and so forth. Eventually had to block their number because they couldn't take the hint. Then they started mailing me, saying to please contact my local field office because my quote has been referred over to them for handling. Once a fucking week, I'd get something from them begging me to contact them. Not one other insurance provider did this. Once I got the quote emailed to me, that was it, nothing more. The salesman didn't know that I knew the owner, and I was getting really pissed off because of the extra fees they were trying to push. I was prepared to pay the advertised price, and the salesman was being a major dick about it. My friend and I walked out. I called my father and then he called the owner. The owner ended up chopping $3,000 off the price for the inconvenience, and we got the car. I have no problem paying the price quoted to me, but I don't like to get a runaround when I arrive. It's just unprofessional, and in this day and age it can ruin someone's business. I drove 4 hours from Northern NM to the middle of CO to help my friend buy his first car. My dad is a car dealer in TX and he is friends with the owner of that store, and I knew he'd get treated well. Anyhow, I called to get a price quote before we left, and when we sat down to sign the paperwork, we were paying in cash BTW, they had tacked on an extra $1,500. I kept explaining to him that he himself didn't quote me this price and that his behavior was pretty unethical. He literally pulled the contract out of my hands and threw it in the garbage. You shouldn't have to call for a quote unless they have no website. I used to work at an auto parts shop, and there was a car dealer we sold parts to that never listed prices on a single vehicle. Not on their website, not on the vehicle. You had to talk to the salesman. And they sold trucks you could get for $1,500 on Craigslist or Facebook for around $5,000 to $6,000. I hated even selling parts to them. Their website would say something like only $250 payments, but that would be weekly or bi-weekly, and for years for a shitty 20-year-old rundown vehicle. Target and harass me when I'm not even interested in their products. We just happened to make eye contact, aka mall kiosks. I was shopping online, and in the bottom of the page, a box popped up saying I could message them on Facebook Messenger if I had questions. I decided against purchasing items from that site. Over the next 3 days, I received about 15 messages from the company via Facebook Messenger, asking me to come back to the site for a 15% off coupon or whatever. I ignored the first few, but eventually I snapped and responded that they needed to fire their marketing staff because their messages were borderline harassment. Not only would I never purchase something from them, I tell anyone considering purchasing from them that they are stalkers. To my surprise, a human answered, apologized, and stopped messaging me. This incident was part of the reason I got rid of FB, but any type of aggressive marketing is a sure no-go for me. Not me, but my boss once bought a brand new truck. He needed a bed cover, so he contacted a company near us that specializes in aftermarket bed covers. They offered a single product, brand new truck model, didn't have any choices, gave him a quote, he eventually took it in and had the install done by the company. A few days later I'm loading the bed and notice the paint along both sides of the rail are down to complete bare metal, and the bed cover was the cause. He called the installers, Sent email with pics and they claimed it was on him to make adjustments? He called the manufacturer to confirm and they went full Switzerland and wouldn't pick a side, and instead cited their contract, 48-page document, and on page 30-something it stated the installer must check for friction points and adjust accordingly. He showed this to the installer and they refuted any responsibility due to him being the owner and should have known and would not do anything. He had to have the entire bed repainted and won't ever use that brand cover again and makes a point to tell people to avoid the install shop. It's things like this that make me understand why retaliation is so common. A literal 5 minutes conversation about adjusting would have prevented this.